When I got into Stanford, I was like looking like Wikipedia and online about like Stanford housing, because I was kind of like afraid of living in a room with a guy. You know, I don't know. I was afraid of like homophobia or just like something weird. And so I was like looking at like, you know, could I room with a girl? And there was like this big article about it.
For the first quarter last year, we hated each other. But then winter quarter, we became best friends.
Mm-hmm. We were in a class together. And then,
yeah, and we just really bonded. So then we decided, like the housing draw came around, it's like all sorts of drama. And we decided that we wanted to live together.
Mm-hmm. And I've been living in gender-neutral housing for about a year. And when I initially chose it, I just wanted to kind of experiment with something new.
The best part of living with my roommate is just that we're best friends. So it's like we chose a gender-neutral room because we want to live together, obviously.
And my parents, I've told my parents a lot about Caleb, and they know he's my best friend. Some people in my family think he's my boyfriend, so they thought it was a bit weird that I was going to room with him.
So my parents do know that I'm living with a boy, so they were like, who's your new roommate? Like, you know, what's she like? Like, what's her name? And I was like, well, it's a he, and they were like, okay.
My mom thought that it was like really cool, actually. She was like surprised because she didn't know that Stanford offered that, but she was like really excited.
It was very awkward to like come out to my parents as having a male roommate, and they were like totally weirded out and like totally suspicious and thought it was like really bizarre. And like with my grandparents, like because Sam is kind of a gender neutral name, like I just told my grandparents like, oh, my roommate's name is Sam. Like they're a cheerleader.
A lot of my conservative friends, they just raise their eyebrow when I tell them about my roommate, how she's a girl.
I told my parents that I was living with a guy. My mom's first question was like, well, is he gonna be clean? Like he's obviously gonna be super messy. Which he is super messy, which is unfortunate. You're like not breaking out that stereotype.
I know, I'm sorry.
No, there's this misconception that by living with someone of the opposite sex and being straight, having both of you be straight, that it necessarily has to be some sort of like physical, sexual relationship, and that it can't be platonic. And I think that you can totally live with someone as friends. My roommate right now is totally just my friend, as have been all of the other guys that I've lived with.
I think that's like a common misconception. Is that like only, you know, like a girl and like a gay guy can like room together or something.
If we were both straight, there'd be a lot of sexual tension. It wouldn't be a problem though, don't worry.
So I lived with a girl obviously last year. So I put like a little rainbow flag outside of our door because like I identify as lesbian. And people like saw it and thought that I was dating my roommate, but like she felt awkward because there was this sort of assumption that maybe she was like also lesbian, which was totally unfounded and ridiculous.
I probably would have requested mixed gender housing, like when I was a freshman, if I'd known, just because I'm more comfortable like being around girls more often. As it is, I'm probably glad I didn't, because then I learned to room with guys more, which is something that I have like learned from as well.
I probably would have chosen gender neutral housing for the fact that like, well, first of all, I usually make closer friends with girls, and so I wanted to like room with, you know, one of my close friends.
I know for me personally, there's an entire vibe that's associated with how I function around other guys versus how I function around girls. And I know when I'm living in a room with all guys, I feel like more grounded in a way and more like cut off in a way, because everyone walks into the room and says, hey dude, what's up? And then we do our thing. Whereas with girls, I feel very connected because girls are more communicative and talk. And I feel like most people are going to get through college, and like most guys will be like absolutely mystified by girls still. And now like I just understand people a lot better just as a whole.
I think it's awesome. I wish there were more options on Stanford to do it, because I think a lot of people don't think about it. You know, it's just like, oh, I go in my draw group, I must live with someone of the same gender.
And I didn't know you could have a mixed gender room until the end of my freshman year.
But I really think there should be more steps in publicizing and advertising gender-neutral options. But I think Stanford is on the right track just in having gender-neutral rooms. But
I commend the university for even having gender-neutral housing options, because I know a lot of places don't. But I wish that they would push to expand that and make it more obvious to freshmen in the documents that we get when we're approaching Stanford. I think it's like a great way if your neighbor is like, you know, a gay guy and a lesbian, like that's, I think, like good for you, I guess, good for that house. Like it changes the dynamics and makes it less rigid and like gendered. So
but I think one of the biggest things that gender neutral housing offers is a safe space for the transgender community and the LGBT community especially.
I'm really glad that gender neutral housing exists because I truly mean this. Caleb is the best friend I could ask for, and being able to live with him has just made this quarter absolutely amazing.